Remember those deadly crashes in 2018 and 19 overseas that involved Boeing 737 MAX airplanes? Well, Boeing has pleaded guilty in relation to that. Let's talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Boeing pleading guilty to a felony and paying a fine of over $200 million in relation to fraud because they lied to the federales before the 2018 and 19 accidents in Indonesia and Ethiopia, if I'm not mistaken, that claimed the lives of over 340 people. Now, this whole thing is no surprise to me. The question is, how does a corporation plead guilty to a felony? Does anybody get locked up? Is there a thing called Boeing that could serve time in the penitentiary? I don't think so. I think the biggest thing is a fine of like 246 million, whatever the number is. That's pretty much that. But I think there could be more that comes as a result of this, because obviously this is happening right after the whole door plug kerfuffle and Spirit Aero Systems and whistleblowers popping up dead, all kind of stuff. Now, before I go any further, let's get into a news clip where we can find some more context. And of course, if you want to see this in full without my commentary, link as always will be in the description. If you're an IG, visit link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Boeing reaching a deal to plead guilty in a case related to the crashes of 737 MAX planes 5 years ago. Phil LeBeau joins us right now. He's got more of the details on that. Phil, good morning.
Becky, this was a filing late last night, and it is a guilty plea by Boeing. So let me go over what the terms are of this plea agreement between Boeing and the Department of Justice. Again, they jointly filed this with the court last night. The charge is conspiring to defraud the government. By the way, that is a felony charge. We'll talk about the significance in just a little bit of it being a felony. The fine that Boeing will agree to pay is $243.6 million. In addition, it will invest at least $455 million in making sure that its safety and compliance programs meet the standards that they're supposed to meet over the next 3 years. And an independent corporate monitor will be hired and approved by the judge, who will make sure that Boeing is doing what it should be doing when it comes to safety and compliance.
Now, let's pause for a minute. This is about the 2018 and 19 crashes overseas that took a lot of lives. 346, if I'm not mistaken, people. A lot of people died from these crashes. And the crashes happened within the 5-month period spanning 18 and 19 a few years ago. So this is for that. But I think maybe all the recent things kind of amped it up. Okay. You got the door flying off. You got all kind of other stuff flying off. You got wheels falling off. You got fires. You got whistleblowers popping up dead. You got a lot going on with Boeing. So they said, okay, enough. Now we got to do something else. But from what you see right here, do you see things that are really going to improve it? You spending $500 million on safety and compliance. Okay. Is that money going to go to where it needs to go? You pay a fine. Okay. That's just going to the government to waste and burn up, spend overseas. You get that 243.6 million, pardon me, to Ukraine and have them go buy luxury houses and drop a few bombs on regular civilians. And then the independent corporate monitor, who's that going to be? Who's this guy going to actually be? Is it going to be one guy? Is it going to be a team? Is it going to be some red tape and bureaucracy, or is it going to be an effective corporate monitor? We'll see.
The focus for that monitor will be quality control. This has been at the heart of the problems for Boeing, and it's what triggered the DOJ to say, wait a second, you violated the deferred prosecution agreement revolving around 2 737 MAX crashes in 2018 and 2019. Boeing has declined to...
So there was a previous ruling, I suppose, and they violated it because of the lack of quality control? Okay, I understand. I think the issue with the MAX was the design, because it was just like a T-Rex with these, this is the way it was designed with the size of the engines and everything else. So that, I believe, contributed to the crashes back in 18 and 19. But now the issue is just the quality control, not necessarily the design itself.
comment on the details of the plea agreement, simply saying that it had reached an agreement. This does not sit well with the relatives of the 737 MAX family. We knew that they would not be happy with this agreement. Javier DeLuis issued this statement overnight. The penalties and conditions imposed on Boeing as a result of this plea deal are not substantively different than those that failed to change Boeing's safety culture and that resulted in the Alaska Air door blowout. This further complicates, or is at least another factor that Boeing Chairman Steve Mollenkopf will have to keep in mind as he looks for the next chairman, or the next CEO, of Boeing.
Now, I think what happened with the Alaska Air door blowout is that it just wasn't affixed to the fuselage properly, maybe because of some maintenance that was done by a third party. I don't know. But regardless of what, there's just a lot of things like that going on. You got bolts missing. Stuff is not all the way tight the way it's supposed to be. It's just a lot going on. Maintenance and quality control are really big issues impacting Boeing, even if it's not their fault. Like, okay, you deliver a plane, and then after 20 years, it's not maintained properly by the third parties who are in charge of it. That's one thing. But if you send in the plane, and after a couple of months, there's catastrophic issues like the door blowout, well, that's on Boeing. There's a lot of that kind of stuff going on. Although the two shouldn't really be interchanged, they're going to be because of all the issues from Boeing and not necessarily any other airliner like Airbus.
And whoever the candidate is, who he is having discussions with or maybe having discussions with in the future, they knew that this was coming. But it is another factor that whoever is hired will have to consider because of things like bidding on defense and space contracts. I mentioned that it's a guilty plea for a fraud charge. That factors into future bids on defense contracts that the next CEO will have to keep in mind. Boeing believes that you can get a waiver, let's say from the Defense Department, Becky, if there is a charge, or if there is a program that they bid on. And let's say Boeing has the best bid, they believe that the Department of Defense will be able to issue a waiver because right now, if you have a guilty plea to a felony conviction, in many ways, you're not supposed to be able to win a government contract. But according to those who I've talked with at Boeing,
you're going to bend the rules for Boeing because there's only a few airliner manufacturers that exist. So if you can't do business with Boeing, Airbus, is that it? I'm not sure about the other one or any other ones that exist, but Boeing has almost a monopoly. Not quite a monopoly, but they have a large market cap, a large share of the market. So what are you really going to do?
They believe that there's some wiggle room there and that if it's the right contract and Boeing is the right bid, they could receive a waiver from the department that is overseeing the program.
Sure they will. Sure they will. Because what's your other alternative?
That is being bid on.
Phil, it's such a strange thing to say that this is a felony agreement, that Boeing's a felon, but no individual really is responsible anywhere for anything?
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Well, remember, there was a trial. There was a trial, and there was an individual from Boeing who was put on trial for charges related to the 737 MAX program as it was being designed. And they could not get a conviction. The Department of Justice could not get a conviction. And the belief is this is the strongest charge that they could make stick against Boeing. And that if you, let's say, the families, I'll give you an example. The families would like to see the former CEO of Boeing, Dennis Muhlenberg, charged and brought to court. The DOJ
that ain't going to happen.
Does not believe that they're going to be able to get a conviction on that.
Nah, that ain't going to happen. You're not going to be able just to get the CEO because the CEO is just an employee. So he's not the one that's like, he's not doing anything, any kind of intentional thing. It's a company-wide, I guess you would say, culture of like a quality control that does not fall on the shoulders of one person. It really will fall on Boeing as a corporation, I suppose, but not just one person.
In order for that to stick, you would have to really, you're going through a very high bar. And the DOJ believes this is the strongest conviction that it could get Boeing to agree to, that it could get Boeing, it could make stick with.
it's crazy how you can just agree to a conviction. There's more here, but I'll leave it right there. Shout out to my man. Shout out to CNBC for the news report. And shout out to Boeing for now being a convicted felon. Imagine that, a company being a convicted felon, because they are going to plead to a felony conviction. But as I close, I want to say this. I hope that Boeing gets it right. I don't know if this conviction will change much, but I think if they want to continue to maintain their business and not go out of business, they have to just tighten up. I think what they are relying on here is that they have so much in the market, and people that they are so relied upon by the airline industry that they could kind of cut corners and get away with it. Unfortunately, people may get hurt as a result. Luckily, nobody got deleted in the whole door plug kerfuffle. Nobody got deleted in the recent airplane fire I saw, or the wheel that came off of the landing gear. Nobody got hurt in that. But 2018 was not long ago. We're talking about over 340 souls no longer here on Earth. So let's not have that happen again. But if you keep up with the same level of a lack of quality control, that most certainly could happen again, unfortunately. And I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your thoughts on the felony conviction against Boeing? Is it going to do anything? Is it not going to do anything? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. This should do something, but if anything, it'll just make Boeing more known to have issues to the general public. But beyond that, if they don't take it upon themselves to really fix things and change the culture at Boeing, we're going to see a lot more stuff like this happen, and the conviction will mean nothing. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.